Welcome to the Full Moon Film Buff, episode 126. We're going to talk about Dog Soldiers from 2002. I watched this on Amazon Prime, and I have seen this before. As always, we start with the prominent crew and cast. The show notes include links to a more complete credit list. The film was written and directed by Neil Marshall, with special effects by Bob Keane. Neil Marshall developed his passion for filmmaking at age 11 after being inspired by films like Raiders of the Lost Ark and Star Wars, which I totally get. He began his career as a film editor, gaining experience that would later influence his directorial style. His breakthrough came with Dog Soldiers. This was followed by his critically acclaimed film The Descent in 2005, about 6 women facing unknown terrors in an unmapped cave system. These films established Marshall's reputation for combining scares with strong character development and practical effects work. He also made an impact in television, directing some of Game of Thrones' most ambitious episodes, including Blackwater and The Watchers on the Wall, which earned him an Emmy nomination. More recently, he directed the 2019 Hellboy reboot. We first discussed Bob Keane when we reviewed Waxwork from 1987. The cast includes Kevin McKidd as Private Cooper, Sean Pertwee as Sergeant Harry Wells, Thomas Lockyer as Bruce, Liam Cunningham as Captain Richard Ryan, Emma Cleesby as Megan, Darren Morfitt as Spoon, Chris Robson as Joe, Leslie Simpson as Terry, Vilric as Acer as Sam the dog, Bryn Walters as Werewolf, Ben Wright as Werewolf, and Brian Claxton Payne as Werewolf. Kevin McKidd planned to pursue engineering before discovering his passion for acting. McKidd gained attention as Tommy McKenzie in Danny Boyle's amazing 1996 film Trainspotting. He earned acclaim for his portrayal of Lucius Vorenus in the historical drama series Rome from 2005 to 2007. Perhaps his most widely recognized role came when he joined the cast of the medical drama Grey's Anatomy in 2008 as Dr. Owen Hunt. Beyond these prominent roles, McKidd has also done voice work in animated films such as Pixar's Brave in 2012. Sean Pertwee comes from a distinguished acting lineage as the son of beloved Doctor Who star Jon Pertwee. His uncle Michael Pertwee and grandfather Roland Pertwee were prolific screenwriters and playwrights, and his father's cousin Bill Pertwee was a regular cast member on one of Britain's most popular sitcoms, Dad's Army. Pertwee began his acting career in the 80s. His distinctive, gravelly voice and intense performing style made him a recognizable figure in both British and international productions. He has appeared in films like Event Horizon in 1997, Equilibrium in 2002, and Goal, The Dream Begins in 2005. He also lent his vocals to video games, documentaries, and commercials, making him one of Britain's most recognizable voiceover artists. Perhaps his most widely recognized role in recent years has been his portrayal of Alfred Pennyworth in the television series Gotham from 2014 to 2019. Beyond his screen work, Pertwee has maintained ties to the theater and has regularly appeared in stage productions. Thomas Lockyer has appeared in numerous British TV series, including Midsummer's Murders and the occasional film. Liam Cunningham took an unconventional path to acting. He worked as an electrician in Zimbabwe for 3 years in his early 20s. Upon returning to Ireland, he began acting classes and discovered his calling, marking the beginning of a career spanning decades. He gained critical attention for his performance in A Little Princess in 1995 and continued building his reputation with performances in films such as Jude in 1996. The actor's career reached new heights with his role as Davos Seaworth in HBO's Game of Thrones from 2012 to 2019. His portrayal of the Onion Knight became one of the show's most beloved characters, showcasing his ability to bring warmth and moral complexity to the role. Notable films in his repertoire include Hunger in 2008, Clash of the Titans in 2010, and The Guard in 2011. His television work has been equally impressive, with memorable roles in series such as Outcast and Three Body Problem. Emma Cleesby's career has included work in both television and film, primarily in British productions, though she has maintained a relatively low profile in the entertainment industry. Darren Morfitt has appeared in various British television series and films. His television work includes appearances in popular shows such as Dream Team, Grafters, Doctor Who, 55 Degrees North, and Coronation Street. He recently appeared in The Last Jedi in 2017. Chris Robson had a short decade-long career. Other notable roles include Sky Captain in The World of Tomorrow in 2004 and the television miniseries Band of Brothers in 2001. Leslie Simpson worked sporadically in film and television throughout the 2000s. I don't know anything about Vilric as Acer, but I love it when real dogs are given actual credit in films. I'm sure he was a good boy. Bryn Walters was a professional dancer. Ben Wright is a professional stuntman whose career is still going strong. He's doubled for Captain America, Star-Lord, and Thor. Do I recommend this film? Hell yes, I recommend this film. A must-watch for fans of werewolf movies and military horror. If you enjoy intense, practical effects-driven monster films with a perfect blend of humor and terror, this is your kind of movie. Top to bottom, this is a blast. In an audio commentary for Dog Soldiers, Neil Marshall stated that the moment in the film when Megan cuts her hand on a shard of glass was meant to set up a second sequel about werewolf DNA, which would lead to a planned trilogy. However, he added that the sequels will probably amount to nothing now. The never-produced sequel would have centered around Cooper being locked up in a mental institution as part of a cover-up by the British government, only for him to discover a werewolf already inside the asylum. The camper from the beginning of the original film had survived his encounter, turning several inmates, doctors, and nurses into werewolves, forcing Cooper and the other inmates and staff to fend off the new pack. So, let's move on to the synopsis. A couple camps in the Scottish Highlands. The woman gives the man a silver letter opener as a celebratory present. That night, something attacks them in their tent. It tears the woman in half before killing the man. Meanwhile, Private Cooper runs through a forest in North Wales. He turns the tables on his pursuers, but is overwhelmed and wrestled to the ground. Cooper is trying to join the special forces. He fails when he refuses a direct order to shoot a dog. 4 weeks later, Cooper and his regular British Army unit are dropped into the Scottish Highlands on a training mission. Sergeant Harry Wells leads Cooper, Bruce, Spoon, Joe, and Terry. Their task is to sneak past special forces. They are armed with blanks. Wells tells a creepy story about a haunted tattoo. A cow carcass lands with a thud in the camp, startling them. A nearly full moon hangs in the sky. Captain Ryan is attacked by something that can see perfectly well in the dark and has monochromatic vision. Wells orders his squad to track the cow. He's curious about where it came from. What they find is the savaged remains of the Special Forces unit who were part of their training exercise. The squad recovers the live ammo from the dead soldiers before finding the single injured survivor, Captain Ryan. They radio out for help, but get no answer. Ryan keeps muttering there was only supposed to be one. Turns out the Special Forces were equipped with all kinds of non-standard gear, tranquilizers, nets, etc. Unseen antagonists make their presence felt as the squad gets on the move. Bruce volunteers for rear guard duty and ends up impaled on a tree branch before something with huge claws pulls him off. Wells is attacked and finds Bruce's body before a werewolf disembowels him. Cooper ignores a direct order and rescues Wells. The remaining squad fights a disciplined retreat to the road where they encounter Megan, a zoologist who takes them to an isolated farmhouse after a narrow escape. The soldiers still alive and well are Cooper, Spoon, Joe, and Terry. Wells and Ryan are alive but injured. The house is suspiciously empty. After treating Wells as best they can, they find their vehicle has been completely destroyed. As the darkness deepens, the house is surrounded. To the soldiers' incredulity, the attackers are revealed to be werewolves. With limited ammo, Cooper orders short bursts only. The squad equips themselves with whatever weapons they can find in the farmhouse, an axe and a longsword. Megan fills the squad in on the details. She's been studying the werewolves carefully for the last year. If they can make it to sunrise, the werewolves will revert to human form, and then they can escape. Ryan won't explain why his team was in these woods, and his wounds are healing supernaturally fast, so the squad ties him up. The pack launches a full attack, and the soldiers maintain a desperate defense, using assault rifles, shotguns, grenades, boiling water, and anything else they have at hand. Unfortunately, Terry is abducted, and the pack retreats. With ammunition running short, the squad comes to the conclusion that they cannot last the night, and decide to try and escape. Spoon acts as bait, while Joe hotwires the Land Rover in the garage. When he starts it, he sees a werewolf eating Terry. The werewolf decapitates Terry and lobs the head at the windshield. Joe drives up to the house door and then, only then, realizes a werewolf is hiding in the back seat, which kills him. The remaining soldiers are despondent. Ryan reveals in an angry exchange with Cooper that the government sent his forces on a mission to capture a live werewolf so that they could be studied and weaponized. Cooper's squad was the bait for the trap, but they thought that there was only one werewolf. Then, Ryan transforms into a werewolf himself. A fight ensues, and Ryan escapes into the forest. Now, Megan tells them that the werewolves must be hiding in the barn. Wells is healing fast, and he knows what that means. He offers to cover Cooper, Spoon, and Megan as they escape. Cooper chooses to blow the barn sky high using petrol, propane tanks, Molotov cocktails, and the Land Rover. Once the barn is in flames, Megan confesses. There were no werewolves in the barn. She tricked them into destroying their only transportation. She is a werewolf herself as well and has been suppressing her transformation. She begins to transform, but Wells puts a bullet between her eyes, ending it right there. Cooper and Wells run upstairs. Spoon runs into the kitchen, blocking the door behind him. The werewolves break in. Spoon's rifle jams. He fist fights a werewolf pretty effectively and stabs it a lot, but another werewolf sneaks up behind him and gets him. Upstairs, Wells and Cooper shoot through the floor to escape the pack, dropping down into the kitchen. Wells gives Cooper one last order to hide in the cellar. Wells cuts a gas line and blows up the house, taking most of the pack with him. Ryan, fully transformed now into a werewolf, descends into the cellar to finish Cooper, who stabs him with the silver letter opener and finishes him with a bullet to the head. He and Megan's dog Sam survey the wreckage as the only survivors. The werewolf makeup and transformations in this film are notably practical, using sophisticated makeup and prosthetic effects designed by Bob Keane. Dog Soldiers relies on detailed costume and makeup work that gives the monsters a visceral, tangible quality. Now, the film wastes little time on transformation scenes. There are only 3 of any note, and 2 of those are interrupted, one by a bullet and the other by an explosion. The one we spend real time on that ends up with a werewolf is accomplished primarily through a Texas switch. The werewolf design is fantastic. Bipedal, very furry, heads that look like wolves. We don't get any detailed, well-lit shots of the werewolves, but what we do get is amazing. Neil Marshall used dancers as werewolves, as well as typical stuntmen, to highlight their grace. The makeup was also designed size-wise to force the creatures to have to bend a bit upon entering, thereby highlighting their imposing physiques. The performers wore stilts in their costumes, making them a foot taller. It's an amazing look. I love it. So let's move on to Werewolf Lore. These werewolves aren't cursed individuals transforming unwillingly, but more like a predatory species with their own social structure and hunting strategies. The werewolves are intelligent, organized, and treat their human prey in a calculated manner. The werewolves merely feel compelled to change on the night of the full moon and can hold it back if they wish. This retroactively makes the family even more evil since they change willingly. Lycanthropy is still passed along like an infection, and silver or fire still seems to be the only way to kill a werewolf. I mean, the soldiers pump a lot of ammunition into the pack, but don't kill one of the werewolves until Wells blows the house to the high heavens and Cooper uses the silver letter opener. So I want to talk about military camaraderie. This isn't the first intersection between the military and lycanthropy. Weaponizing werewolves into warriors has been brought up as far back as the Mad Monster in 1942. Project Metal Beast from 1995 went further, but Dog Soldiers does something new. It directly explores military brotherhood, showcasing how the bonds formed in service can mean the difference between survival and destruction. The film's secret strength lies in its portrayal of the squad dynamics before the werewolves even appear. Sergeant Harry Wells leads his men with a mixture of professional distance and paternal care, while Private Cooper acts as the moral compass of the unit. The soldiers' banter, inside jokes, and shared references demonstrate years of building trust and understanding. When Private Spoon quotes from The Matrix or Cooper and Wells argue about football, we see more than coworkers. We see a family forged in training and combat. This established camaraderie becomes crucial when the unit faces an enemy beyond their training or experience. As the werewolves converge, the soldiers' military discipline combines to create a survival strategy. They instinctively cover each other's blind spots, share ammunition without being asked, and make split-second decisions based on absolute trust in their mate's abilities. Interestingly, Dog Soldiers exposes a parallel between the military squad and the werewolf pack, highlighting how both groups rely on hierarchy, loyalty, and coordinated actions. The werewolves hunt as a unit, use tactical approaches, and protect their own, just like the soldiers that they're hunting. However, the film suggests that human camaraderie holds an advantage over pure animal pack mentality. While the werewolves operate on instinct and dominance, the soldiers' bonds are chosen and strengthened by shared experience and mutual respect. This voluntary brotherhood proves more resilient than the werewolves' forced pack dynamics. Megan is the primary example of this. She wanted to get away from the pack and was hoping the soldiers could help her achieve that goal. Once it was clear they couldn't, that's when she revealed her true colors on several levels and betrayed the squad. Had Megan not helped the unit in the forest, the film likely ends with the bodies of the soldiers being hung in the cellar meat locker for later consumption. The film's isolated setting in the wilderness and the confined farmhouse amplifies the importance of these bonds. As the situation deteriorates, the squad's cohesion becomes their greatest asset. Each soldier's sacrifice for their comrades feels earned and authentic because the film has established their relationships so well. When Spoon volunteers to be bait, or when Wells sacrifices himself, these moments resonate because they emerge from genuine loyalty rather than simple duty. The military training depicted in Dog Soldiers serves as a preparation for combat and as the foundation for building trust. The soldiers' ability to communicate with minimal words, anticipate each other's actions, and synchronize their efforts reflect years of shared experience. Yet the film makes clear that training creates competent soldiers, but it's the personal bonds, the shared meals, the jokes, the conversations between missions that create resilient warriors capable of facing impossible odds. In the end, Dog Soldiers presents military camaraderie as something transcending both professional training and natural pack instincts. The soldiers' brotherhood proves as strong as the primal bonds of the pack because it combines the best aspects of both worlds, the discipline and coordination of military training with the emotional connections of friendship. Cooper survives thanks to Wells' sacrifice, and luck, the pack kept the letter opener as a trophy. But he could never have gotten as far as he did if the squad wasn't every bit as tough, determined, and as efficient as the pack. Next, I want to talk about subverted love interests when romance becomes betrayal. The traditional horror movie love interest is a common character archetype, typically embodied by an attractive young woman who functions as both romantic subplot and potential victim. Their portrayal often balances intelligence with naivete, creating vulnerability to the antagonist's threats. These characters demonstrate familiar behavioral patterns. They investigate strange occurrences alone, driven by curiosity that frequently places them in danger. While initially skeptical of supernatural elements, personal encounters transform them into believers. Their nurturing personality and tendency to help others, sometimes extending to sympathy for the antagonists, often create additional peril. The love interest commonly possesses specialized knowledge crucial to the plot, such as medical training or understanding of local history. However, physical vulnerability relative to the protagonist enables dramatic rescue scenarios. Their relationship with the protagonist develops through shared danger with intense situations, accelerating emotional bonds. A troubled past often makes them emotionally vulnerable and triggers the protagonist's protective instincts. Now, Dog Soldiers demonstrates effective use and subverts these tropes through the character of Megan. She initially appears as the archetypal civilian rescuer and potential romantic interest, offering shelter and medical care to the besieged soldiers. The film deliberately positions her as a traditional horror movie love interest, particularly through her interactions with Cooper. However, Megan's revelation as part of the werewolf family creates an effective subversion. This twist works on multiple levels, commenting on trust and appearance while connecting to the film's broader themes. Like the soldier's sanctuary becoming a trap, Megan represents how threats can emerge from seemingly safe sources. This subversion succeeds because modern horror audiences understand these character types. The helpful civilian, nurturing female figure, and potential love interest are familiar tropes. Dog Soldiers uses this familiarity to craft a logical betrayal that adds complexity to the narrative. Each seemingly kind action takes on a darker meaning in retrospect, elevating the film beyond a standard monster movie. So, if you like lycanthropes, like, share, and subscribe. Contribute your thoughts and additional observations in the comments below. Let me know what I missed or what you noticed. Next, I plan on discussing Wolfhound from 2002. Keep an eye on the moon, a silver bullet in the chamber, and we'll see you back next episode.